My mother-in-law called herself Mom while I was still under anesthesia. I woke up after giving birth, too weak to speak, too dizzy to move, only to see Eleanor cradling my daughter like she owned her. "She's mine now," she whispered. My husband looked away. I wasn't just replaced. I was erased. But they underestimated me. The room felt cold. My lips were dry. My arms numb. But I knew what I saw. She was rocking my baby like she had every right. And Mark, he just stood there, arms folded, eyes low. "She won't remember you anyway," Eleanor said. "I'm the one she'll bond with." My throat burned, but I forced the words out. "You'll regret this." She just smiled, rocked my baby, called me tired, called me weak. But I wasn't weak. I was watching, listening, recording. Every word, every lie, every plan. And when the time came, I'd burn their little fantasy to the ground, with nothing but the truth. Before all of this, before the crying, the hospital lights, the whispers behind my back, there was just us. Me, Mark, and the illusion of a normal life. We met 5 years ago. He was charming in that quiet, dependable way. Steady job, kind smile, never raised his voice. Safe. That's the word I'd use to describe him. We got married after 2 years. Eleanor smiled through the ceremony, wore champagne silk, sat in the front row, gave a toast about legacy and carrying the Carter name forward. It sounded like a compliment. I thought it was. It took me a while to realize Eleanor wasn't just involved. She was everywhere. She had a key to our house in case of emergencies. She knew our grocery list, our bills. She sent me fertility tea before we were even trying. She had a folder of recommended OB/GYNs bookmarked before I missed my first period. Mark said she meant well. "She's just excited to be a grandma," he'd chuckle. He didn't notice the way she looked at me, like I was an incubator with a first name. When I got pregnant, Eleanor cried harder than I did. She bought a crib before we told anyone. She turned the guest room at her mountain home into a full nursery. And then she started calling it our nursery. I corrected her once. She laughed. Didn't correct herself again. At first, it was small things. She'd refer to the baby as my girl. She told people we're pregnant. She offered to hire a private midwife, someone she trusted more than hospitals. She insisted we come stay at the family cabin for the last month. "Better air, better rest," she said. "No stress. Just us." Mark thought it was sweet. He said I'd love the quiet. I agreed, partially because I wanted peace. And partially because I was too exhausted to argue anymore. So we packed up in my 8th month. Left behind the city. The hospital I chose. The doctor who knew my file. The cabin was beautiful. Isolated. Surrounded by pines. Wi-Fi barely worked. No signal in the back rooms. Eleanor was thrilled. She cooked. She controlled every meal. Checked my vitamins. Touched my belly without asking. And when I got too tired to protest, she took that as permission. The nursery she built? It was fully stocked. Formula, clothes, diapers, nothing with my input. She began referring to herself in third person, loud enough for the baby to hear. "Grandma Eleanor loves you. Grandma is going to take care of you." Mark didn't say much. He was working remotely, buried in conference calls, rarely in the same room with us for long. When I asked if he thought Eleanor was being too involved, he shrugged. "She's just excited. Don't ruin this for her." That phrase hit me like a slap. Like I was the outsider. Like the pregnancy was a group project and I wasn't pulling my weight. I started keeping notes. Moments. Phrases. Things that felt off. But nothing could have prepared me for the night it happened. It was storming. Lightning cracked through the windows. The roads were blocked by fallen branches. I went into labor 3 weeks early. I screamed for Mark. Eleanor came instead. "I've called the family doctor," she said, calm as ever. "No need for a hospital. She's on her way." "She?" I asked. "She delivered all my nieces," Eleanor beamed. "She's practically family." I was in too much pain to argue. My body was shaking. My back was breaking. I didn't see Mark until much later. He stood in the corner, silent, useless. The woman who delivered my child wasn't wearing hospital scrubs. She didn't ask for my name. She barely looked at me. But she handed Eleanor the baby and called her Mom. I passed out seconds later. When I came to, the storm had passed. But nothing else had. The lights were dim. The room smelled like antiseptic and chamomile. And the first thing I saw wasn't my baby. It was Eleanor. She was sitting in the same rocking chair, swaddling my daughter like she'd been doing it for hours. She looked down at the baby with a soft smile, so full of possession it made my skin crawl. Then, without even turning her head, she said, "She's been so peaceful. It's like she knows who she belongs to." My mouth was dry. My limbs useless. I tried to sit up, but a sharp pain ripped through my abdomen. Stitches. No one had told me I'd needed stitches. Eleanor glanced at me, still rocking. "Try not to move too much. You've had quite the ordeal." She said it like I'd fainted at brunch. Like this wasn't the moment I'd been waiting 9 months for. I wanted to scream, but my voice barely came out. "Where is Mark?" "He's resting," she said. It was a long night. For all of us. She stood and walked across the room, humming softly, cradling my daughter against her chest. Then she whispered, she already started calling me Mama in her sleep. "Isn't that sweet?" My heart stopped. I tried again to speak, to move, anything. But my body wasn't cooperating. So I just lay there, silent, watching, burning. A knock on the door broke the moment. A nurse peeked in, young, early 20s, red hair in a tight bun. Her badge read Natalie. "Oh, you're awake," she said, walking in. "How are you feeling, Mom?" Before I could answer, Eleanor cut in. "She's fine. Just a little groggy. But I've been taking care of the baby." Natalie hesitated. Her smile didn't falter, but her eyes flicked to me, then to the baby in Eleanor's arms. "Would you like to do some skin-to-skin now?" she asked gently. Eleanor laughed. "Oh, we've already done that. Twice. While she was out." My stomach turned. Natalie blinked. Once. Then turned to me. "Ma'am, did you sign any release forms allowing someone else to act as your caregiver?" I shook my head. "No," I croaked. "No, I didn't." Eleanor's voice sharpened. She needed help. I was just trying to ease the burden. The paperwork wasn't important. Natalie stepped back. "I'll check in with the doctor," she said quickly, and disappeared out the door. The room went cold. Eleanor's eyes narrowed at me. "You think they'll believe you over me? You're weak. You were unconscious." I've been the one holding her since the beginning. My hands clenched into fists under the blanket. She was taking over. Not just my child, but my role, my voice, my motherhood. And Mark? He showed up 15 minutes later, still in yesterday's clothes, rubbing sleep from his eyes like this was just another morning. He glanced at me, then at Eleanor. And when I asked why he let this happen, he just mumbled, "Mom knows best." That's when I knew. They weren't just helping. They had planned this. That night, I didn't sleep. Eleanor took the baby to let me rest. Mark sat on the edge of the bed, scrolling through his phone like nothing was wrong. When I asked him again why, he just sighed. "It's not forever," he muttered. "She just wants to bond." "You've been so out of it, Camila. You don't even know what's best for the baby right now." He didn't say it like a concern. He said it like a fact. Like a decision had already been made. I turned my face to the wall, blinked away the tears. But my mind was racing. I kept replaying Eleanor's words. "We've done skin to skin. She's calling me Mama. She's mine now." No. She was pushing me out. Not just emotionally, legally. The next morning, Natalie came in again. She didn't smile this time. She checked my vitals, then leaned in and whispered. "Off the record, did you sign anything? A temporary guardianship form? Anything authorizing Eleanor to act on your behalf?" I shook my head. "No. I swear." Natalie nodded slowly, jaw tight. "I thought so." She stood and walked toward the door, then paused. "Don't say anything yet," she said. "But if you hear her talking, keep your phone close." My pulse quickened. That afternoon, Eleanor was on the veranda, cradling the baby and speaking low into her phone. I pretended to sleep. But I had my smartwatch under the pillow. Recording. "It just needs to look official," she was saying. "She's not in any state to consent, but I know what's best. Just copy the signature from the hospital file." Silence. Then she laughed. "She won't even know what she signed. By the time she wakes up, the paperwork will be done." My stomach turned to stone. I didn't just suspect anymore. I knew. I didn't panic. I didn't scream. Didn't confront her. Not yet. I knew better than to show my hand too early. That night, while Eleanor slept in the nursery, I texted Natalie. "I have a recording." She was in my room 15 minutes later, pretending to check my phone. I played it back for her, Eleanor's voice clear as day. "Just copy the signature from the hospital file. She won't even know what she signed." Natalie's face went stone cold. She said nothing, just nodded. The next morning, things changed. The attending doctor, Dr. Abrams, came in, along with another nurse I hadn't seen before. They were polite, professional. Too professional. They asked me directly, "Camila, Did you authorize Eleanor Carter to act as your legal proxy in any way? I said no. Clear. Firm. I never signed a thing. I was under anesthesia when anything could have been submitted. Dr. Abrams looked at Natalie, then back at me. Thank you. We'll follow protocol from here. That was the moment I realized I wasn't alone anymore. They didn't arrest her right away. They didn't even confront her. They started watching. Every time Eleanor tried to make a decision, someone questioned it. She requested formula? Natalie asked for a written request. She tried to take the baby out for a walk around the grounds. Security declined, citing temporary protocol due to weather. She knew something was off. She started getting jumpy, short-tempered. But the final straw came 2 days later. A lawyer arrived. Eleanor had emailed someone at the county office, attached a PDF of a guardianship request, complete with a forged signature. She had also submitted a correction form to change the name of the mother on the birth certificate, from mine to hers. That's when the hospital's internal legal team stepped in. They froze all pending documents, launched an internal investigation, and called law enforcement. Eleanor still didn't know what was coming. She thought her plan was airtight. She walked into my room that afternoon with a smug little smile. You'll thank me one day, she said softly. When she's older and happy and structured, you'll see that I saved her. I didn't say a word. I just tapped my smartwatch, played the clip again. Eleanor froze mid-step. Then I said, you forged my name. You lied to the county. You tried to erase me. She didn't speak, didn't move, just stared at the baby in my arms, like realizing for the first time she was never going to win. That night, security entered the house quietly. Mark was at work. Eleanor was sipping tea in the kitchen, like she didn't have a care in the world. They asked to see her ID, asked about the paperwork, then told her she needed to come with them for questioning. She left. Questioning? Please. This is a misunderstanding. But the lead officer just replied, we've heard the recording. You're not under arrest yet, but I suggest you cooperate. She looked at me one last time. Not angry, not afraid, just betrayed, like she couldn't believe I'd outplayed her. As she left, she muttered, you have no idea what you started. Maybe not, but I knew exactly what I'd stopped. They brought her back an hour later. Not in handcuffs. Not yet. But her posture had changed. The Eleanor that walked into the house was quieter, measured, like someone calculating how much ground they'd just lost. Mark arrived soon after. He looked flustered. Ty ask you. Breath short. He walked straight to Eleanor. Mom, what's going on? They think I forged something, she said, too calmly. They're confused. That nurse has been feeding your wife nonsense. Mark turned to me, jaw clenched. What did you do? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Natalie and Dr. Abrams walked in behind him, followed by 2 hospital investigators. One of them held a folder thick with documents. We'd like to go over a few items with you both, said the woman with the folder. Her tone was polite, almost bored. But the way she sat down said this is no longer a request. They laid out the timeline. The email, the attached PDF, the digital signature. The voicemail Eleanor left for the county clerk, calling herself primary guardian. The form requesting to remove my name from the birth certificate. Mark shifted in his seat. What is this? He asked, voice cracking. Mom, I thought this was just temporary. You said it was just while Camila recovered. I was doing what needed to be done, Eleanor snapped. You've always been too soft, Mark. She couldn't even carry the pregnancy without complications. She's not fit. She's the mother, Dr. Abrams said flatly. Eleanor sneered. I raised you. And you turned out fine, didn't you? Silence. Then the investigator placed a sheet on the table. A signed affidavit from Natalie, confirming Eleanor instructed staff to treat her as the mother. A transcript of the recording. Screenshots of the falsified email. Eleanor's face didn't flinch until they brought out the final document. The forged request to amend the birth certificate, with my name crossed out, and hers typed in bold. I watched her facade crack. That's not legal, she whispered. You can't prove that was me. Oh, we can, the investigator said, flipping to the metadata logs. Same IP address as your emails. Same timestamps. Same device used in the house Wi-Fi log. Mark stood abruptly. I didn't sign anything. I didn't do this. No, I said quietly. But you let her. Eleanor turned on him, fast. You coward. You said you'd back me. You said we were doing this for the family. Mark took a step back. I didn't think you'd actually try to steal the baby. She's not stealing, Eleanor hissed. She's reclaiming. That girl isn't cut out for motherhood. I saw it from the beginning. That's when the lead investigator nodded at the officer by the door. Eleanor Carter, you're under arrest for falsifying legal documents, identity fraud, and attempted custodial interference. Eleanor froze. Then she laughed. You can't be serious. I'm the only one who ever actually cared about that child. I care, I said, standing slowly, baby in my arms. You just wanted control. The officer stepped forward, reading her rights. And for the first time, Eleanor had nothing to say. Eleanor didn't cry. Even as they put the cuffs on her wrists, even as she was walked out past the nursery she decorated herself. She didn't shed a tear. She just kept her chin up, eyes forward. Like she still believed this wasn't the end. Like she still thought she'd win somehow. Mark didn't follow her. He stood in the hallway, jaws slack, arms limp at his sides. He looked like a man who had just realized the house he built was made of sand. When he finally looked at me, I didn't flinch. He opened his mouth, closed it, then finally whispered. I didn't know she went that far. I didn't answer. Because I didn't believe him, and because it didn't matter anymore. The officers were gone. Natalie helped me gather my things. The baby slept quietly in her wrap against my chest, her little fingers curled into my shirt like anchors. Dr. Abrams handed me discharge paperwork and a contact for legal aid. He didn't say, I'm sorry. He just said, you were braver than most people would have been. I nodded once. The drive back to the city was long. Quiet. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just held her. Counted every breath she took. Every tiny, perfect exhale. We arrived at my apartment after midnight. It looked exactly as I left it. Except now it felt like mine again. No Eleanor. No Mark. No voices telling me I wasn't enough. Just me. And her. The next day, I filed for divorce. Filed for sole custody. Filed a restraining order. It wasn't messy. It wasn't loud. Mark didn't fight. He signed the papers in silence. Didn't even ask to see the baby. He looked tired. Small. Deflated. Like someone who realized too late he'd bet on the wrong person. The court granted everything. Full custody. No visitation. My name restored as sole guardian. Eleanor's name flagged in the system. And, just like that, it was over. At least the legal part. Emotionally, that would take longer. Because they hadn't just tried to take my baby. They had tried to take me out of the picture entirely. To rewrite me out of my own life. I'd never forget that. But I also refused to let it define me. So I did what I had to. I painted the nursery in my favorite shade of sage green. Hung little stars above her crib. Labeled every drawer. Built our new world from scratch, quiet, safe, ours. Some nights, she cries in her sleep. And I wonder if she remembers. If somewhere, deep inside her newborn mind, she knew something wasn't right. But then she reaches for me. Eyes still half closed. Fingers wrapping around mine. And I remember. I'm here. She's safe. And that's enough. A month later, I received a letter. No return address. Just my name, handwritten in a script I recognized too well. I almost didn't open it. The curiosity one. It was from Eleanor. 3 pages. Blue ink. No apology. She called me emotional. Said I was easily manipulated. Said that if I had truly cared about legacy, I would have done what was best for the child. Then she said something that stopped me cold. Your reaction reminded me of her. Always dramatic. Always thinking someone was out to get her. You know, Mark's biological mother said the same things you're saying now. I suppose I was right to remove her too. I stared at that sentence for a long time. It wasn't just about me. This wasn't a one-time obsession. This was a pattern. She had done it before. To Mark's own mother. She'd erased her. Claimed control. Raised Mark to believe that woman was unstable, unfit, unworthy. And now she had tried to do the same thing to me. Only this time, it didn't work. I put the letter down. Didn't respond. Didn't show it to anyone. I just walked over to the fireplace and watched it burn, page by page. Ash curled up like ribbon. Words dissolved into smoke. And something inside me finally exhaled. Weeks passed. My daughter started smiling in her sleep. She reached for me faster. Cried less. The quiet was no longer eerie. It was peaceful. Mark never reached out again. Eleanor was facing charges. And me? I learned how to breathe without fear again. To love without questioning my worth. To be a mother on my terms. Sometimes I still wake up in the middle of the night, afraid someone's in the room. That she's here, watching, ready to take what's mine. But then I feel a tiny weight against my chest. Hear that soft, steady breath. And remember, no one's taking her from me now. Not again. Not ever. They thought I'd stay quiet. That I'd surrender. They were wrong.